Hello sports fans, welcome to Sports in 3. I'm your host, Stile Smith, and joining me today is Ray McGillis and Jeff Engelhardt. Guys, thanks for joining me. Alright, Final Four coming up this weekend. We got Butler against Michigan State and West Virginia against Duke. Starting off with Butler and Michigan State, who do you guys got in that game?
Well, it's hard to go against Michigan State because, Tom Izzo always has his team prepared come tournament time. They weren't the best team in the Big Ten alone this regular season, but whatever Izzo does, he has them ready to come. I'd like to see Butler make it to the championship game. I can't go against Izzo anymore.
Ray, I'm going to have to disagree with you here. Michigan State, they haven't played a team seeded higher than fourth in this tournament, and they arguably had one of the easiest roads to the Final Four ever in the history of the NCAA tournament, and they've won by a total of 13 points, which is the lowest total of any team to ever make the NCAA tournament. I think Butler's going to take them down relatively easily.
But Michigan State came out in the Elite Eight, and they played a Tennessee team that beat Kansas, Syracuse, and Kentucky, which throughout the whole regular season were considered two of the top teams in the nation. They came out without Kalen Lucas and put it to them. So I'd like to see Butler just for the underdog story, but I just don't see it happening.
Michigan State's probably a better team on paper. They always do well in the tournament. 6 times in the last decade in the Final Four, but they usually fail in the Final Four. And I expect that to be the case again. I think Butler's just red hot. They're a tough team. They're one of those teams that the game's always going to be close no matter what. Izzo is good at pulling those games out, but they just don't seem to be able to get to the championship game very often, and I think this is going to be Butler's year.
At the same time, you got to think that those teams had just come off with wins against those higher seeded teams, the Kansases and those teams. So, they were on so much of an emotional high that they're bound to have a letdown after that. Meanwhile, Butler, they take down number 1 seed Syracuse. They take down number 2 seed Kansas State. I mean, they've been pretty impressive in this tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that. I'm sorry. I'm still sticking with Michigan State.
In the other matchup, we've got Duke taking on West Virginia in the semifinal game. Who do you guys got in that one?
Well, I read your column about Duke, and I, for one, did think they were going to have a pretty good tournament. Had them in the Final Four. I had West Virginia in my Final Four, so that's the only thing that really worked out for me. I'm happy to see both of those things happen, and I have West Virginia over Duke. They came out of the Big East, arguably the best conference this year. It's nice to see 4 different conferences represented in the Final Four. I think that was unexpected, but West Virginia's proven they're good. They struggled a little bit against Kentucky, but considering Kentucky was one of the favorites, just to get a win is good. Again, tough conference, tough regular season. I think they beat Duke, go to the championship, probably take out Butler too.
Well, I had no teams in my Final Four make it, so that can't really argue on behalf of that. But West Virginia is an easy team to like, but I just don't see them beating Duke. When they played Kentucky, Kentucky shot 4 for 32 from the 3-point line the whole game. They were just struggling. They couldn't put it in from beyond the arc. And then in that game, West Virginia didn't have any points from inside the arc in the first half. So Duke's not going to come out and do that. Duke's going to come out and they're going to be able to score. So if West Virginia can score from beyond the arc like they did against Kentucky, they have a shot. But I don't see them playing a team that struggles as bad as Kentucky did against them.
Jeff, in this side of the bracket, I'm actually going to have to disagree with you. Bob Huggins has always proven to be a great coach, whether it's now at West Virginia when he was at Kansas State or back when he had quite a bit of success at Cincinnati, but he's never been able to win the big one. Meanwhile, at Duke, you've got Mike Krzyzewski, who while he hasn't been to the Final Four since 2004, he's won championships, he's been there, he's done that. I'm going to have to go with the experience of Duke over the raw talent of West Virginia.
I feel West Virginia is the most talented team out of those two. And really, when it comes down to it, I just can't root for John Shire. You see, I'm a Northwest Suburbs guy myself, so I had to live through him dominating every high school up there and winning a national championship. So I just can't root for the guy. I'm going to have to say West Virginia wins it.
Well, I'll be curious to see what happens with Truck Bryant. There's a lot of speculation going on whether or not he'll play, but Missoula really stepped up in the last game. And like I said, this team, the Mountaineers are an easy team to like, especially with Huggins bringing his alma mater bringing them the first Big East Conference title since, I don't know, that might be the first one ever. But and then bringing them back to the Final Four for the first time since 1959. Last time the Mountaineers were in the Final Four, a guy named Jerry West was playing point guard. So there's not much to dislike about the team, but I got to stick with Duke too.
No matter what happens, I think we can all agree that it's definitely going to be an exciting weekend in basketball. I think that'll do it for today's edition of Sports in 3. Make sure to check back every week for the latest edition.